Welcome, students. This lesson is for Monday, December 9th. The lesson is about standard form and how to get the intercepts out of that. We've been doing most things this year in slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form is our y equals mx plus b, and we're not going to go away from that, where m is slope and b is y-intercept. We're just going to take a look at another form because it is also popular as well and shows up in our tests and in classes that you'll take later on. This form is called standard form, and standard form is ax plus by equals c, where a, b, and c are integers. Okay? And integers just means that they are not fractions or decimals. And a, the front number, is always positive, so we have an emphasis on making that always positive. Alright? This first part here is to write the following ones into slope-intercept form, and this is what we call solving for y, and we've been doing that for a long time. This one is already solved for y, so no work required on that one. This one, we box, we draw our line down, we subtract the 2x over to the other side, negative 3y equals, we write this in an mx plus b form, and then we divide by negative 3, by negative 3, by negative 3, and y equals 2/3 x plus 4. And so that gets that into slope-intercept form for us. All right? So we're going to move on to the next slide, and it's going to be basically going the opposite direction. It's going to take things from a solved form and put them back into this standard form. Down at the bottom down here, these are basically the steps that we're going to do or use to try to get it back into that form. Okay? So the first one here says to multiply to get rid of fractions. When we look at number 4 here, there are no fractions, so we do not have to multiply. Number 2, get x and y on the left side. So our y is already over there, so we have to move this 4x over to that side. So we basically move it across the equal sign through doing opposites. So this would be minus 4x, minus 4x. And so this side we can't combine, so we rewrite it. I'm going to erase my line because it's going to get in the way there. We're going to rewrite it. We want the x part first. That's a positive y, our equal sign, and our negative 11. Well, we're to the ax plus by equals c form, but our a is not positive, so we have to come up with a strategy to make the x term positive. And basically that strategy, if it's negative, you're going to multiply the whole thing by negative 1. Okay? So we'll add that down here, multiply by negative 1. And what that does is you end up creating a triple rainbow here, and that changes the sign of everything. So this goes to positive, this goes to negative, and this goes to positive. And this is the standard form version of that first thing. Okay? So in the previous problems we went from standard form to here. Now we're going backwards. Number 5, you'll see it has fractions in it, so we got to multiply to get rid of the fractions. We do this through kind of the same process that we used down here on number 3, except we don't multiply by negative 1, we multiply by our denominator. So I'm going to multiply everything in here by the number 3. So again, we get kind of a triple rainbow effect. So 3 times y is 3y equals 3 times 2/3. If we type that into our calculator, what we're going to find out is that it turns into 2x. Okay? And then 3 times a negative 4 is negative 12. So then we go on to step number 2. Step number 2 is going to be getting the 2x over to the other side. Okay? And you can formally subtract it over there, or you can just start to realize that if we move it over there, it changes sign. So it's going to go to negative 2x. That's positive 3y, and that's negative 12. Okay? Again here, we're violating this third rule, and so we need to make sure that our x term is positive. So we're going to multiply the whole thing by negative 1, and so we get that triple rainbow again. That goes to positive 2x, that goes to negative 3y, and that goes to positive 12. And so that one is solved. Okay. Number 6, we have the fraction again, so we're going to multiply that whole thing by the denominator. So this one we just get a double rainbow, so 4 times y is 4y. We have to treat this as negative 1/4. So when we multiply 4 times negative 1/4, what we find out that is negative 1x. We're going to need to move that to the other side. So we can do it by adding 1x to both sides, or we can do it by just knowing if we cross the equal sign, it changes sign. So this becomes 1x, positive 4y. And since there's nothing over here, we have to write nothing, as in a 0. Okay? This is in standard form. The only change I would make is that they wouldn't write 1x. They would just write x plus 4y equals 0. So that is your standard form. Okay. This next part of it is going to show you how to take standard form equations and find the x-intercept, and the y-intercept. This is where it crosses x-axis, and we know that it is a number and then 0, and the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis, and we did a little bit of study on this a couple of weeks back, and it is 0 and then a number. Okay. We use a technique called the cover-up technique when we're trying to find this. If we're trying to find the x-intercept, we're going to cover the y with our finger and solve. Okay. And so I have a picture of my finger here, and I'll show you what that's going to look like. So if I want to find the x, I'm going to cover the y, and then we just read what this says, x equals 12. So the x-intercept is 12. So this is 12, comma 0. Okay, can't get any easier than that. And we want to find the y-intercept. We cover the x and solve. Okay, so that looks like this. We cover, oops. I'm having a hard time getting my writings moving, but not my finger. Let's see if I can block that and see if I can move. Yeah, there we go. So now if I cover that, what you read is negative 2y equals 12, and then we're supposed to solve. So when it's beside it, we divide it, negative 12, and we get 12 divided by negative 2 is negative 6. So our y is negative 6, so when we write this, it'll be 0, negative 6. Okay, so a pretty easy way to find the x and y intercept is just the cover technique. You use your finger to cover the one you're not looking for. Okay, we're going to do the same thing here. To find the x, we're going to cover the y. When we cover that y, we get negative 3x equals 9. When it's beside it, we divide it, and I get x equals negative 3. So negative 3, 0. To find the other one, I'm going to cover the other side. And so I get 5y equals 9. When it's beside it, I divide it. Y equals, I take my calculator and I do 9 divided by 5, math 1 enter, and it stays 9/5. So this is 0, 9/5. Okay. The next one here, same type of thing. If I want to find my x-intercept, I'm going to cover the y. So if I cover the y and I write what's left there, I have nothing on one side and 7 on the other. Since this is not a true statement, that means there is no x-intercept. There's not one. Okay, so that means this line will not cross the x-axis. Okay? And we know already that when it's just y equals, it's kind of a weird situation. Here we'll put the finger over there to cover where the x would be, and what we read is that it's y equals 7, and so this has a y-intercept of 0, 7. If we were to graph this, this is just a flat line that crosses at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's just a flat line that crosses up here, and you can see that this line never crosses this line. That's why there's not an x-intercept. Okay? I'd like for you to try these examples on your own down there and bring those to class finished. Use the cover technique to do that. Okay? Another way to find x and y intercepts, and we've talked about this one before, but you can use your calculator to do that. All you have to do is take your equation and convert it into a y equals form. Right? And that's where you box, draw your line down, and do all your rules. Type it into the calculator. Type the equation into y equals, and then you look at the table when y is 0. So right here, I see that y is 0. Then I find out that my x-intercept is 3, so this is 3 comma 0. So that's a pretty easy way to find it as well. And then for step 4 here, when the x is 0, that gives me a y-intercept, and so I have 0 is 2. Okay, we can talk about these in class since I know a lot of us don't have calculators at home. See you guys on Monday.